This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. And we've had this discussion in three previous, maybe even 4 previous videos prior to today. However, finally, at long last, we've got ourselves some news on what Mr. Philip Broberg will be doing next season with his hockey career. So let's, with that, turn it over to Twitter, get over to Mark Spector, and get on to the news that is the SHL for Mr. Philip Broberg, our young 8th overall draft pick in the 2019 entry draft that took place in Vancouver. It is now confirmed 47 minutes ago that Broberg will play next season for Skellefteå, I don't know how to pronounce it. Please do not hold me to this one. This is brutal if I mispronounce it. And he will not play in the OHL with the Hamilton Bulldogs. So there you go. That's the information right there. The bigger part is there's a couple multi-prongs to this Philip Broberg news because, the Oilers connections run deep all over the globe. And it just so happens that this Oilers connection runs right here. If you take a look at the defense charts for the Oilers, for Skellefteå, however you pronounce it, please, again, just hold off, terrible with Swedish. You've got Jacob Anderson, Philip Broberg, Philip Berglund, who's our other Oilers guy, Nicholas Bergstrom, Peter Granberg, Arvid Lundberg, Patrick Noren, Jonathan Pudaz, and Adam Wilsbury. So those guys all born, well, you know what, there's Wilsby, however you pronounce it, is younger than everybody else except Broberg. Broberg's the youngest. So you go youngest birth dates, it goes Broberg's the youngest, then you got Wilsby, and then you've got Berglund, then it goes to the Anderson guy, and everybody else is born between 92 and 95. So that's kind of the challenge for Philip Broberg. And, of course, Philip Berglund, finding that room on the blue line to get some games in. However, the interesting fact here, you look at the Swedish team in Skellefteå AIK, and it gets really interesting for Philip Broberg and Philip Berglund based on one thing. They are 2 of the 3 6'3" defenders. The oldest guy being 26 years old in Peter Granberg. He's 6'3". Meanwhile, Broberg and Berglund, both 22, 18, who's who, 6'3". Berglund's only 205, whereas Broberg's already 198, so he's got a couple more years to pack onto the frame. This is just a very, very good opening, I think, for the Oilers and the Swedish team AIK, because you look at it this way, guys. Philip Berglund, he's been there a couple of years. He's played with Skellefteå since 17-18. And they've been a team that's made the playoffs both years. They had 16 games in the playoffs 2 years ago and 6 games in the... Actually, go back. Sorry, Berglund's played all the way. He's played since 15-16 with Skellefteå. That's my bad. Sorry. Misinformation Central on Sundays. Anyway, you go all the way back. He's played upwards of the most 52 games. The least was 5 games in that 15-16 rookie season. But man, guys, those are big time games he's played in because everything's been playoffs ever since for Skellefteå. And you look at that, 16 games, 4 assists back in 17-18. He had 13 points. That's by far his most points in the SHL, and that's huge numbers. So Berglund's been developing and percolating there for the Oilers since 15-16. But you go back to Broberg here, and this is where it's going to get really interesting because he's the youngest guy on the team. He's got to earn that playing time over the veterans, and everybody's got a contract, whereas Broberg's on a loan. So how much does Broberg actually get to play is the question, and you really have to wonder because it's going to be a tough contest. He played with AIK in the Allsvenskan. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's hold on, what is it? It's another league in Sweden. It's not the SHL though, but he'll play for the AIK in the SHL next year, and You understand, it's a little bit of a contradiction as to what's going on here, because you look at it one way, it's great for him to play with men. We've had this debate, right? It was split 50-50 down the middle. Man, it's great for him to play with men. He's at home, he's developing where he needs to, into the man he needs to be to play in the NHL. No problems about it. We send him back there this year, next year, bring him over at the end of next year, start the next year in the AHL, play half a season, come up 2.5 years from now, no problem. That is, of course, the development route I feel most comfortable with. That's the development route clearly the Oilers are trying to target, but is it going to 100% work is the question based on the depth chart. I know that I'm sounding like Jim Matheson because he's the one who tweeted it out via the depth chart stuff and a couple other people on the depth charts, but it's a question of how do you develop a young guy, right? You develop a young guy via character, you develop a young guy via skill, you develop a young guy via hockey knowledge, via everything. And you imagine, you know what, okay, you're 18-year-old Philip Broberg, you've got to earn your playing time, you've got to do all that. You know what, if he had to do that in the OHL, if he had to earn the trust of a coach, right? Would you rather have a guy be set up for failure in the OHL in terms of the Oilers instructing Hamilton to say, hey, you have to play this guy top line minutes no matter what, and this is what we want him to work on, and you as the coach feel your toes are stepped on, you as the GM don't have the capability to do what you need to do, right? There's a couple of questions to ask yourself in terms of, oh man, is this the right development when you're the head coach of that team and trying to make sure the kid's getting what he should as opposed to what the NHL team's saying. Whereas if you send him home, like Philip Broberg has decided with the Oilers management, it's a matter of he's in a setting that he doesn't have to necessarily force himself into fitting in, right? He doesn't have to fit himself into a role. He has to, essentially on a men's team, as opposed to a junior team where it's more dictated, in my opinion, in a men's team, he's going to have to earn it, and this is pro club talking to pro club. This is the beauty here. Pro club to pro club is different than pro to junior, I'm sure, but yeah, maybe the Oilers are saying, hey, this is what we'd like him to work on, this is what we'd like, but the SHL still has the way they develop their guys, no matter how much an NHL team tries to influence, because you can't have a pro league where a pro league across seas is influencing how you run your bench. It doesn't work. In the juniors, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I feel there's a little bit more dictation there, and that's fine by that. That's what major junior development in the CHL is meant for. It's a pipeline. Whereas the SHL isn't exactly what I'd call a pipeline unless somebody has directly tied North America to Europe yet, and these guys are Hockey Canada, right? You understand where I'm going. It's not, it's almost apples to oranges. Not really, but it kind of is. And so you have Philip Broberg in a situation where he's going to be forced to be uncomfortable at times, but life is cushy. Life is home. He's home. He's at home. You know what? If you tried to force him into that situation in Hamilton and dictated a little bit of what he needed to do, and then things went sour between teammates or between the coach or management, what are the Oilers going to do other than pull him back to Sweden or pull him up to the AHL or play him in the NHL, right? And I mean, there's CHL rules that mandate how that works as well, so you can't exactly just go around dictating what you want done as soon as something goes sour. So at least if something goes wrong in the SHL for Philip Broberg, he's got the comfort of life, right? We've all dictated our stances on how the Jesse Puljujärvi thing should have went, and oh my God, he should have done this, should have done that. This is at least trying to correct a mistake that was made in the past, at bare minimum in my mind. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Ken Holland coming in wants to change the way the river flows, right? You know what crap does, it floats downstream. But this is, for once, reversing the stream and trying to make things move in a positive direction. Upstream, yes, it's a battle, but it's a good way to go. It's where you're going to grow most, is the theory I'm following here. I mean, it could be out to lunch, but it seems to be the running theory on Philip Broberg is you get him comfortable, you get him in a place he can grow, where he feels like he can grow, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know. It's tough to say. And it could be good, could be bad, but for Philip Broberg, it's a chance to get it right off the hop, right? You're a young 18-year-old, you get to play pro hockey, you get a chance to go in there and earn playing minutes on a pro team before you have to do it for your drafted team. And that's going to be huge for development. Now the question is, how does this work from here on out? Because you have him over in the SHL on loan for this year. That's dandy. That's good. You know what you're doing for the next year. But then kind of you almost have that two-prong situation. If he shows you what you want, then do you transition him to North America in Bakersfield next year? Do you clear that logjam of AHL defensemen next year? Or do you have a core that's going to win the Calder Cup? Or, right, you have to ask yourself what that build of that team looks like. And that's where Keith Gretzky is going to be very, very involved. But then you've got as well, you've got Philip Broberg in a situation where maybe there's a little bit of left in the tank to go in Sweden, and just this has to be refined and this has to go. And maybe you keep him there. Then, like I said, you bring him over the next season, play half a year, and then see what you have in the NHL. The questions are endless, and this is the best part. At least we don't have transition, jump, right? You don't transition to North America this year, jump into the NHL the year after. That's what this avoids. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I'm most happy about, is we avoid the straight transition to a big role in a foreign league, on foreign ice, in a foreign country, and then jump up to the AHL, have a big role there. The expectations, right? You have them in the SHL. You're going to keep the media off them. You're going to keep things off them, and you're going to keep the expectations a little tempered. And that allows that room for the ceiling to grow, right? You don't have guys barking down your neck every day saying your ceiling's this, but man, last night, oh gee, oh man, that game you were -5. You had an assist, but it was an awful bounce. Man, awful. How do you expect to reach here if this is where you've played all week, right? You don't have that. You don't have that because you're that far removed. I mean, you're still going to have that in terms of a Sweden context, but it's not to the degree of, are the Oilers really going to be that happy they drafted the 8th overall because of how you're playing? That's not to the degree it will be like it would be in a Canadian market. That's at least my feeling. We know how the media works, especially surrounding the Oilers, so to have almost pretty much everybody's going to be getting secondhand information on Philip Broberg all year, that's not a bad thing. I'm going to take my chances and run with it. Guys, Philip Broberg to Skellefteå. I'm going to try it one more time. Skellefteå AIK. See, I can't even get it right. We'll see what happens, guys. I'm Tyson. This is Stolen TV. I will catch you in the next one.